Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar on Oracle Cloud ERP invoice scanning. I'm Jamie Carpentier, I'm the Marketing Manager for Stafford. Wayne will be taking you through the demo here in just a minute. If you notice on your screen there is a questions box. If at any point throughout the webinar, if you have a question, feel free to type it into this box. And at the end, if time allows, we'll do our best to answer those questions. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. Wayne, take it away.
Thank you, Jamie, and hello, everyone. My name is Wayne Critchlow, and I'm the manager in Stafford's Cloud Technology practice. I'm a 20-plus year veteran in the enterprise applications market space and have a strong focus on Oracle enterprise applications. My current focus is in assisting organizations of all sizes as they are making the transformation from leveraging legacy on-premise applications to leveraging cloud-based enterprise applications and applications tools. In this series, we're going to demonstrate some key functionality that's available in the Oracle ERP Cloud Application Suite. These demonstrations are intended to give you a high-level overview of specific features. However, before getting into the demo, let me tell you a little bit about Stafford. Stafford is a consulting systems integrator who is focused on providing value to organizations principally by helping to streamline financial processes and systems. Our teams bring extensive backgrounds and experience in both process and systems to the table. Stafford was founded back in 1995 and is a leader in the financial transformation space. The firm has decades of experience aligning financial strategies and processes and then deploying systems that support the defined initiatives. We have experience in implementing Cloud ERP, Cloud EPM, and BI solutions, specifically the Oracle Cloud solutions in these areas. We are an Oracle Platinum partner with both ERP Cloud and Hyperion specializations. The overall core focus of our firm is to partner with our clients and to work with them to improve performance of the business by refining processes and systems. Now, before I go into the demo, I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the overall Oracle ERP solution. The Oracle ERP Cloud Application Suite is one of several tightly integrated cloud application suites that are available from Oracle. The ERP suite focuses principally on core financials capabilities. So that's GL, AR, AP, cash management, asset management, along with procurement and employee expense processing. Oracle overall has an extensive portfolio of cloud application suites available, and they all seamlessly integrate to form a best-in-class application platform, which helps organizations of all sizes scale and operate efficiently and transparently. The Oracle HCM Cloud and Supply Chain Cloud applications integrate seamlessly with the Oracle ERP Cloud application. Together, these applications have the ability to scale to meet the most demanding needs of today's modern business. So with that as a little bit of background on the application suite, let's move into today's demo. Today, we're going to demo some of the functionality that's available in the Oracle Cloud Accounts Payable module for invoice processing. Specifically, we're going to cover automated invoice scanning. Oracle Cloud Payables provides a complete end-to-end imaging solution, fully configured out of the box, integrated with Oracle Document Capture, Oracle Forms Recognition, and Oracle Imaging and Process Management. The system comes configured to recognize different invoice formats without additional system configuration, which is a huge benefit. All you need to do is subscribe to the solution, and all of these technology components come along with your subscription. No need for custom software, no need for significant technical resources, just leverage your subscription. The solution is a powerful differentiator for the Oracle ERP Cloud Application Platform, as it helps the Accounts Payable department to significantly increase efficiency by speeding up the invoice processing cycle and reduces costs by avoiding the need to implement custom third-party bolt-on solutions. Let's take a high-level look at the software. So the core problem that's being solved here is the process of how invoices traditionally are brought into the organization and then processed. Traditionally, what happens in an organization is invoices come in manually, and they go into a process where accounts payables or some other organization will go through the process of manually keying invoices into the ERP system or the accounts payable solution. That's a very, very manually intensive process. It's heavily prone to error because you're doing a lot of manual keying, and it's also not all that efficient for the individuals who are doing the work. So I should say not all that pleasing for the individuals who are doing the work, principally because of all the manual keying. So the solution that's being presented here in the Oracle ERP solution is that upfront keying can be replaced by automated scanning. Essentially what happens is there's a scanning solution that's set up on the front end of the organization that says as invoices come into, say, the company mailroom, those invoices are opened and they're fed into a scanning solution that then takes that document after it's been scanned and processes it into the Oracle ERP cloud solution. And here's the flow of how that works. So as I mentioned, we start off up here with the invoices coming into the organization. They get scanned, and within Oracle ERP, the way how the documents, once they're scanned, get processed is they're emailed into a URL that's set up once you subscribe to the Oracle solution. That email will be routed to the Oracle Cloud solution, and from there, the document that was sent over is imported as an image. It goes through a recognition process using some Oracle recognition software. The image is stored in a content management solution that's built into the Oracle ERP stack, and then it's essentially a process essentially turned into an invoice if the document was read successfully. Once the document has made it through the document capture process and essentially converted into an invoice, the next step is for the solution to route that document into the invoice processing system for processing. Now, once it goes into invoice processing, it's basically the same as what would have happened when you were doing keying, is that the document can be routed for approvals, it can be routed for edits. There are various things that could take place with the invoice once AP receives it. After the document finishes its cycle within AP, if it's approved and successfully ready to be paid, then it moves into the payment cycle. So that's the full life cycle of the invoice moving through the automated solution here, and that's the process that we're going to show in our demo. Okay, so now we're logged on to the demo system as Roger Bolton, and Roger is a user who's configured on the system with the appropriate privileges to process the transactions in accounts payable that we're going to use in our demo today. And recall that the process that we're going through here is demonstrating how we move invoices that are coming into the organization into the scan solution and have that scanned file essentially imaged and then processed within the ERP system. Now, obviously, through the demo here today, we're not in a position to demonstrate a scan. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the file processing process at the point of where the file that contains the invoice is being communicated to the ERP solution. And the way how that communication takes place is via email. When you once you subscribe to the Oracle ERP Cloud solution and you're given credentials for your individual instance, one of the pieces of details that Oracle gives you is an email address that's unique to your installation where you can email files to, and those files will get routed into your imaging solution that's attached to your installation. Each installation that you have has a unique address. So if you have a production environment, you have one email address for production. If you have a test environment, you have another email address for your test environment. On the client side, what would be happening, obviously, is you would be front-ending the email process with some sort of a scanning solution. And as invoices were coming into your organization, you would be getting those documents scanned, and the output of your scanning solution would then send that corresponding file that was scanned to that same email address so you can pick up the file processing task or steps. So before we get into the actual processing, I just want to take a quick look at the files that we're going to be processing today, just to give a little bit of context to those files. And I've obviously staged a few of them for us to work with. We have three scenarios that we're going to work through today. The first one is and this is a standard invoice. Fortunately, one of the powerful capabilities of the solution is you don't have to have your invoice in a particular format. The OCR capabilities of the solution, the optical character recognition capabilities of the solution, have the ability to scan a wide variety of documents and basically pull the data from those documents and move them into invoice files that then can be brought into the system. And it works pretty well for pretty much most document types. Unfortunately, as of right now, it doesn't do too well with handwriting, but any structured typewritten document, it does a fairly good job at processing. So this is one example of an invoice format here. We've set this invoice up. We've given this invoice a invoice number of demo-01. You'll note that this is an invoice. This is a PO match invoice. That's an important point to bring up because it's not only the fact that we're scanning these invoices into the solution, but there's also matching that's taking place. And not only the matching at the AP line level here, we're also matching if there's a corresponding purchase order. It's doing matching to the purchase order header, then matching up to the invoice to the purchase order lines. And if the solution can find a corresponding match, it essentially does the full matching process for you. So for those of you who are deeply familiar with the accounts payable process, you can understand where the efficiencies are there, because all of those steps that I just described are steps that are typically done manually in organizations, and it can be fairly labor intensive. So this solution here is allowing you to automate all of those steps and get back a lot of the person hours that are invested in doing that keying and matching, and perhaps leveraging those hours in different ways throughout your organization. So we've got the matching of the purchase order, we've got the lines, and then we've got the summary values here. So this individual invoice, 3 lines, total sum of $171. Shipping and tax is added, and the total value is $214 after shipping and tax. Advanced Corp is the customer, and again, this is for Demo 1. We also have Demo 2. Now, Demo 2 is a non-PO matched invoice. So this one is called Demo 2 here. No PO information because it's non-PO match, as I just mentioned. It's consulting services. These are the dollar value amounts. And we'll be bringing that one over as well. And the last one is Demo 3. Demo 3 is very similar. The invoice is very similar to Demo 2. The only difference here is tax, and you'll see later in the demo why we chose to call that out so that you can differentiate how those are processed. Okay? So those are the 3 invoices we're going to cover in today's demo, and now we're just going to take a quick look at the UI prior to bringing the invoices into the system. The UI is ahead of me, or I'm ahead of the UI for a second. Okay. So this is called the invoice work area, and there's a lot of detail here around traditional invoice processing. Our main focus today is just on the invoice scanning, so we don't have time to go through all of these features, but in subsequent demos we will be covering some of these other features. So if this is something that piques your interest, certainly stay tuned, because we'll be covering some of these in future demos. The scanned invoices, which is what we're focusing on today in the invoice work area. When invoices are newly scanned into the system, if there's some activity that needs to be looked at, something about that invoice that needs to be looked at, that will get queued up here in the work center, in the invoice work center. And depending upon what the issue is or who it's routed to, the accounts payable person who typically starts their workday in this space here, they'll find the appropriate invoice that they would be working on and take whatever action is necessary. You can see here this is structured in buckets. So this is scans in the last 0 to 7 days, 814, etc. Okay. So of note at this point, we've got 3 invoices in the 0 to 7 day bucket. Now we're going to switch over and import those invoice files that we just looked at. And the way how we're going to import those is by emailing them, just like I just mentioned. And we've taken the liberty of setting up a test email account here. This email address, this is the standard structure of an email address. If you were to subscribe to the Oracle solution, you'll have something very similar. The only difference in your address will be the first part of it here. The last part, Payables and Oracle leads, will pretty much, or very likely be the same for your installation. Okay. So all we have to do is email those files over. And you can do these as a group, but for the course of this demo, I'm actually going to do these one at a time here. We'll go by fairly quickly. So we got demo 1. That's the first file that we looked at. Brought that in. Send that over. These get processed very quickly, but I'm going to do them all at this stage here, just so we don't have to come back here from a timing perspective in the course of this demo. So same email address, just sending over demo 2. And just to reiterate, what we're doing here is these are invoices that have come into our organization. You know, we're assuming we've gotten past the scan point. We've figured out a way to scan these documents into our organization. I'm now going on to bring over the third scenario. We've figured out how to scan these documents into our organization, so we have scanned files that are sitting in our desktop. And we're going to now email those files over to the Oracle ERP solution so that the ERP solution can pick these files up, process them, and send them into the accounts payable area for consideration for processing. And this is the first step for getting those files going. So we've emailed all of the invoice files over to the ERP solution to be processed. And now we're going to go back over to the solution, to the ERP system, and take a look at how do we bring those files in. Now, to bring them in at this stage for the demo purpose, we're going to go and run a process that will bring those files in. In reality, in your live environment, this is just a process that you'll have scheduled in the background that will run, every X amount of time, whatever works well for your environment. Most places will have them running every minute or so, every minute, couple of minutes. But it really just depends on your environment. Now, the whole process of bringing the files in that were emailed, that stuff that's running completely in the back-end architecture and is taken care of, by the Oracle solution. It's something that, you, the end user, do not have to be concerned with. Your only issue is, bringing the files in, bringing the invoices in to be processed as invoices once you're ready, which again can be scheduled. So to do that, we go up to the task menu, and then we run this process called import invoices. And this is just a standard out-of-the-box process that comes with the system. We want to run it for US 1 business unit, which is what we're working in, for the US primary ledger, which is what we're also using. And here's key. We want our source to be invoice image, not spreadsheet or one of the others, because that's going to go and pick up the imaged invoices that are sitting in the content management solution currently. So we're going to submit that. And that submitted a process that ends in 9045. Now these processes run fairly quickly, but before we go on to the next step, I just want to go manually check on the status of the process just to make sure everything's running okay. And the way how I do that is I go up to the navigator and go up to scheduled processes. And that will tell me that actually 9045 succeeded even while we were just navigating there. And then there's a standard report that runs along with the process, and that's what's currently running now. So this tells me the process has run, the invoices have been imported, and I can go back to the invoice work area and see if they're showing up. Okay. Now this time to navigate to the invoice work area, I'm going to use the navigator menu. You might have noticed earlier I navigated by going to home and then clicking on the icons. They're both equivalent in terms of navigation paths. You've got multiple paths that you can use. It's just what you become more accustomed to or comfortable with over time. So here we're going to navigate to invoices. And if you're looking closely, you might notice that something looks a little different about this page now that we're back here. And this number here has gone up from 3 to 6. And that's matching the number of invoices that we've brought in. So we're off to a good start. And if we just quickly scan down the page, we can see that one new invoice in this list is Demo 1. And we've got Demo 2 and 3. And those were the invoices that we just brought over. So that's a really good start. So now let's go take a look at the details of those invoices. So to look at the details, what we do is basically navigate down to the invoice that we're interested in and basically just click on it. And then it will open up. We can take a look and see what's going on and what form did the invoice come into the solution on. As you can note here, you've got the little spinner telling you that it's being processed. Now, there's a couple of key things here to note that are helpful from the navigation perspective. And we're not going to cover all of the AP components today just because we don't have time in the demo, but there's a few quick things I want to point out. First, you'll note over here, you'll start to see something appear in the far right-hand pane in a second. This is just processing. And you'll also note up here that we've got this little indicator here, the warning indicator that's telling us that something that we need to pay attention to. And then down here, this is another warning pane that will tell us this is actually what we need to pay attention to. So the first level thing is to note is basically this is the invoice that we sent over. This invoice was successfully scanned. And as I was telling you earlier, what was happening over in the right-hand pane here was the process was starting that was showing you the invoice that we have just processed. Just expanding that pane so you can see it more clearly. And you'll note, lo and behold, this is the exact same Demo 1 invoice that we were working on our desktop machine, and we emailed over to the system. So the system was successfully able to receive this document, and not only receive it, but it scanned it, read all of these fields, went through a matching process, created an invoice, matched these lines, matched the header, and presented an invoice in the AP work area for the AP person to work on. Right? So that's the real crux of what we're trying to get across in terms of what's available in this solution here, and that's the real power of the system. Now, at a very high level, I'm just going to do two quick things here without getting too much into AP. But this is telling us about these warnings. This is just giving an example of the types of things that it can find. We left these in here intentionally, by the way. So one of the things you'll notice is that there's a tax line that's here, and the tax line is not matching with the line that's on the invoice. Here we had sales tax of $20. Here it's come over as 0. And that's likely because there might be an address. I think there's an address difference in terms of the what's set up on the invoice and was set up on that PO line for matching. And the two municipalities might have a different tax rate. So that's something that has to be manually adjusted. And it's pointing out to the solution did a good job at pointing out, this is exactly where you need to go. Another thing that's happening here is, and I'll show you how the system is helpful in being able to find some of these things. So as I told you earlier, this indicator is telling us that this is one of the lines that we have a problem on. So we can click on that line. And these areas here are the different regions of this line that are available for us to work on. So we can quickly scroll through those regions and see if there's one that comes up with a visual indicator of an error. And lo and behold, we have one. So these red indicators around the field are telling us that there's something wrong with this. And basically, this is telling us that it wasn't able to match these lines against the invoice, against the purchase order line. And we're going to fill that in for it. Tell them that we want this to be line number 3. We want it to go against schedule 1. And to finish that off, we could just save it. And you'll notice that once we made that correction, this issue has been resolved. It's telling us no longer that particular error is not there, and this warning indicator is also not there. Okay. So I'm not going to go on with the rest of the AP process again because that's outside of the scope of the demo, but you can at least see that we successfully brought over, the invoice, and we were able to work on it. Now let's take a quick look at the other two invoices that we brought over. We're going to go back to the invoice work area. That invoice that we just did, that was the purchase order matched invoice. Demo 2 is the non-PL invoice. So I'm clicking on that so I can bring up the details there. This one came over fairly clean, but there's, again, something different. I'm thinking it's around taxes as well. Let's take a quick look here. The indicator is here. We're slightly off on our balance. Again, I can look at the source document. Okay. Let's try to navigate and click. Okay. So again, you can see this is the invoice that we were working on our desktop. This document was successfully scanned, brought into the system, and we can process it from an AP perspective here. Okay. Last one we're going to look at was Demo 3 that we brought over. Remember Demo 3 we said was very similar to Demo 2. The only difference is that we put a different tax line on there. And the reason why we did that, we left all of these in there intentionally, obviously. The reason why we did that is because we know what the actual tax rate should have been, and we know which ones were going to cause an error. And if we put in the appropriate tax rate, this line matches perfectly, and this invoice is now ready to be sent off for payment from this point on here. So this is an example where if everything had matched up on the line, there's nothing for the AP person to do. All the keying is done. All the traditional keying that AP would have to do in terms of initially getting the invoice in, going out and matching it, that's all done. And the only thing they would have to do here is indicate if they want to move it on for payment. So again, for those of you in AP, you can see that there's very, very, very strong efficiencies and capabilities that this solution could potentially bring to the AP organization. So that largely covers the demo. Hopefully you found that helpful, and it gave you some ideas about how you might be able to use this part of the solution in your organization. Certainly, if you have any additional questions that you'd like to bring over to us, get back to our sales team, and we'll follow up with you shortly. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Wayne, and a big thanks to everyone for attending today's webinar. We're running a little short on time, so we're going to go ahead and email the answers to the questions we received. And in the meantime, if you would like to reach out to us directly, feel free to do so. And we hope you have a great day.